People think deterioration aging is a bug, but it's not a bug in the system. It's designed to ensure renewal through cycles of decay and rebirth. It's good for us to age.
Yeah, and when a tree grows up, gets old, dies, falls in the forest, it then breaks down, fungi come in, goes into the soil, and then feeds more trees so they can grow and keep going. It's a reincarnative process for this. And if we didn't have that, if we weren't aging and forced to make better decisions as we get older, our system would continually be chaotic. It's actually helping you.
We double down on those conflicts.
Higher density living. Welcome, our listeners.
Welcome to the simulation.
Yeah, welcome to the simulation. Who's that band? Who would be a good band for that?
Some German heavy metal band. I don't know who they are, but we'll go with one of them.
Yeah, they'd be really
There's Stein. People will know Rammstein.
Rammstein.
Yeah, I always think of them.
Yeah, they'd be pretty good. I wonder if Puddle of Mud would be good with that. Rage Against the Machine. That'd be
Rage Against the Machine song.
They'd be really
coming
really
into
good.
that right now. It'd be hard.
That'd be awesome. For the individuals listening to this, we want to talk about complex systems. What are those? What's a complex system?
We don't want to lose you in the first 2 minutes.
I don't lose you in the first 2 minutes.
So things that are happening bad in your life.
Yeah.
You're in a complex system. We're in a simulation. We're in a matrix. So things that happen bad in your life, guess what? That's what we're going to talk about.
All right. So I want to make this simple. You're standing in front of, assume you have a pool in your backyard. Okay? Pool is flat.
Beautiful.
Calm. The system is at equilibrium. Nothing's moving. It's chilling, right? You can see that. Now, I throw one pebble into my pool. It creates ripples. The pool has a defined parameter. The ripples are equal because it comes from one object entering into the water. Okay? Now, as those ripples are occurring, that's easy for us to predict and measure. Now, if I throw the pebble in, and then 2 seconds later, Jason throws his pebble, the ripples or waves now become complex.
Yes.
It's becoming very difficult for us to predict when that system will equalize out again and become flat. At what time? How many times will the ripples interact and at what angles? The system becomes more complex. And now as there's more of us throwing these pebbles in at the same time, the pool's water on top becomes chaotic. Okay? It becomes really complex. This is a complex system.
And then let's cut the filter on.
Which one?
To circulate. Yeah, which one? To circulate the water.
So happens
then you have a heater that cuts on.
You have the heater that comes in.
Now we're getting complex.
So now we have all these different agents, they call them agents, acting upon this system, which is your pool. And if all these rocks are getting thrown, all these things are happening, it's very hard to understand what the end state of this pool will be. Will it forever remain in chaos? Will it actually come back to equilibrium sometime? It depends. It depends on the things interacting with it, how often, how the angles that they're coming. There's many different points, but these are complex systems. There's a whole body of science dedicated to this thing called complex systems. And they want to understand these fundamentals of life so that we can look at, okay, what are the base parameters? What are the core things that are happening in biology, the cosmos, physics, computer science? What are the base things that actually cause a system to become complex? Why does it leave the area of simplicity?
Yeah, and I think I want to get into this Bohm's or however you pronounce it.
Bohm's law.
Yeah, Bohm's law. This is really interesting. It's a principle from software development. This is going to be geeky and fun for you guys, but it's going to explain from a spiritual perspective, from a philosophical perspective of what's going on in this simulated system that we call third density. So Bohm's law offers a compelling framework for understanding waste, deterioration, and the inherent efficiencies in existence.
Okay.
So we got to get into, and one of the things that I want people to understand is, obviously we know, if we're spiritually enlightened enough to know that bad things aren't bad things. So when we look at something as waste or deterioration, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's I got to make this I got to try and be really simple without being too crazy about it. The point from us here where we are today as humans back to creation is a straight line. It's a very simple, narrow path. We, through our choices,
Creates the ripples in the pool.
We create ripples in the pool. We are making our life more complex.
Which gives us a bad perspective.
Which alters our perspective to say that things are negative, all these other things.
But if we really looked at just the straight line of creation, everything would be perfect.
Everything would be perfect.
Because then we'd be 6 density plus.
Right. Now, assume we are in this simulation of sorts, right, Jason?
Mm-hmm.
Something is trying to run a training model. Creation has human beings populated on the planet to go out and learn, enrich their spirit, right? The density of it. Okay. And then bring all that good knowledge and wisdom back to creation. Super cool. Makes a ton of sense. Now, we all come down. Everything's great. Everything's status quo. We just all landed here on Earth. We're standing around. Everything's peach. Nobody has cut down a tree. All of the systems are working in harmony. Perfect equilibrium. Now, one human decides to take a shit in the drinking water for everybody.
Yeah.
This is a problem.
Now we've got a complex.
Now we have a complex system because everybody was not interrupting the natural flow. Humans were doing great. Like, the apples are easily picked off the ground and I'm just taking the surplus. I'm not drawing too much off of this. I know that my job is to be here, survive, and live with nature. Now, the first guy's like, I got to go to the bathroom. Now, everyone's downstream drinking out of this water because it's so clean and healthy. System's stable, equalized. But he takes a shit. He puts his waste into a stable system because of his choice. Are you guys following here? Now, everyone's drinking it. They all start getting sick. The system's complex. There's an illness that grows.
Or let's go 15th, 16th, 17th century London, and you're pouring it over your balcony, your waste.
It's right out the
window.
It's
going on to the streets. And then hundreds of thousands of people is going into the water.
Right.
Now, when you drink water, you get all kinds of diseases and it creates a plague.
Yeah. And now this plague is going to have effects on the workforce.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff.
Now people can't work because they're sick and there's not enough doctors to care for these people. The system's becoming more complex. So when one small change occurs through human choice, that could be an irrational decision. It could be a decision that's clouded by false perspectives. The rest of the system has ripple effects that's going to affect everybody else.
It's instead of a dis-ease, I like to call it a disorder.
There is a disorder.
That's all it is. It's a disorder that creates a ripple effect.
It's out of equilibrium.
Right.
If my body has a virus in it, it has to go out of order. It has to become hot to burn the virus out. I'm not at my natural equilibrium. So to bring things back into order, your body's designed to eradicate that waste. That's why you don't keep like waste inside you. That's why you have to go to the bathroom. Your body is always trying to take a complex system and bring it back to a state.
That's why you get a fever. It's a law of thermodynamics.
It's a thermodynamic law. So, Jason, where does this lead us in the discussion then?
Yeah, so law of thermodynamics dictates that entropy or disorder increases over time. Similar in software, AI, whatever you want to call it, unoptimized processes lead to waste, which you were talking about, in the form of unused data, energy consumption, or unanticipated errors. So waste and deterioration serves as reflections of a system's complexity and its inability to achieve perfect harmony.
Okay, so we know that creation has very distinct, clear, simple laws, very observable. But if you're here on planet Earth, you see polluted oceans, you see massive amounts of waste, huge amounts of sickness, right? Excess people that can't find a job because the population is so large. All of these things start to come together and you begin to see that the inputs which people are bringing into it are non-efficient inputs. That means that our inputs for how we're making decisions in this world do not align with the laws of creation or nature that allow us to exist. So everything we were doing is an immediate reflection of our disconnection with the thing that allows us to live. And you see this waste around you all the time. You actually feel it in your mind.
Yes,
you're like, I'm having all these wild thoughts. Just as much as a physical system can feel all this waste and it can have that entropy over time where you can spin out of control, maybe even get admitted into a psych ward, is because you let the thoughts get out of control. So again, that system's not efficient. Your brain's running hot, you burn out, you're less energy, you're not stable. The same thing happens for your thoughts, with the body, with the planet, they're all the same. But if we take this simulated system, if we're trying to essentially write the code for our future, we need to make sure that the choices we're making writing this code is based on core, simple, fundamental principles that reduce the amount of entropy. But the entropy is okay. We need to see this waste. But the goal here is that when you recognize it, find ways to correct it, find ways to simplify your system because there's too much stuff going in all the time.
And you have to kind of look at it. I like to look at it because this takes the emotion out of it. When you look at this pragmatic waste in the simulation, this third density is the reality is it's an inefficiency.
That's all.
Because you're not on, you have a different perspective that's not true. It's not real. The emotion that you're feeling over that thought of abandonment, the emotion or of hurt or fear or whatever, that's not real. You have a distorted perspective. So that you're creating inefficiencies and chaos in the system.
And it's not just affecting you.
Yeah, exactly.
It affects everybody, the
Your
planet.
child that's looking up at you, wondering why you're crying. Yeah.
All of these different elements. So it is for you to take control of your programming to align it, equalize it, and stabilize your system.
Mhm.
Because if you can be a stable system, everything you're interacting with will also help be stabilized.
Yes. And this is interesting. And it leads into the next one, not just the pragmatic waste, but the deterioration and aging. People think deterioration and aging is a bug, but it's
No.
not a bug in the system. It's designed to ensure renewal through cycles
Yes.
of decay and rebirth.
It's like when a
it's good for us to age.
Yeah, and when a tree grows up, gets old, dies, falls in the forest, it then breaks down, fungi come in, goes into the soil, and then feeds more trees so they can grow and keep going.
Law.
It's a reincarnative process for this. And if we didn't have that, if we weren't aging and forced to make better decisions as we get older, our system would continually be chaotic. It's actually helping you.
We double down on the complex.
That's what you're doing. It's helping you angle in on what's important as you age.
Yeah, that gives you a huge perspective. Why do older people have more perspective on life? Or they get to a point to where they can be okay with dying?
Because they can only focus on what's really valuable. Because now your time has become limited. Your perspective shifts. They understand that their programming or their simulation, in whatever respect, if we're using these words,
right,
is coming to a finite point.
Well, a lot of people think that the aging or the decay or the deterioration is an issue with limitations in the simulation because it's not sustaining resources indefinitely. But it's not. It's allowing the creational process, we're getting spiritual, it's allowing the creational process to move along. Like you said, you need to have thousands of meat suits so you can evolve in thousands of different perspectives.
Correct.
You need to be a woman, you need to be a man, you need to be poor, you need to be rich, you need to die early, you need to get killed, you need to be in prison, you need to have grapes fed to you
all these
while
things.
You're by the pool with no ripples ever in your whole life. Like you need to be that person that has that all.
It needs the variation.
Yes, it needs it.
And the cool part about this is that as other people are taking variations which are distortive, if you're aware, you can see that and not fall into those distortions. You can actually increase your longevity.
Mm-hmm.
If you find equalization and stability, your body doesn't have to work as hard to bring itself back into equilibrium, using more of that finite energy you have as a living material being on this planet. You can extend your life in those formats. But all the waste we create with our thinking, our interactions, our relationships with the planet, that's cutting down on the lifespan. That's reducing the longevity of your simulation or programming. And DNA is pure programming. And in order to refine that or make sure you get the most out of it, you have to reduce waste. Like a computer programmer, you have to go in and say, okay, what is a new code that I can put in that gets rid of the old crap that was faulty and there were bugs in it? And how do I put the new things in? And the faster you identify this, the fault in the code, the less compounding effects of a complex system, the less of those ripple effects all coming together, the less of their negativity and all those adverse things you don't want that shorten your ability to live come back to you. So you need to see this stuff early, become aware of it, and squash it.
I love that. What do you feel like? Because this is interesting, and I was thinking about this, and I want to get into this a little bit more. The glitches as bottlenecks. You know, like reports of glitches in the Matrix. We've all heard about that. I just got done watching the last Matrix. Deja vu, unexplained phenomenon. Like next thing you know, there's a Bigfoot creature, and he's from a different dimension. And all these different things. Could they be remnants of a system straining to optimize certain aspects? Maybe physics, maybe consciousness. And then maybe there's super thin veils where inadvertently they're introducing anomalies because it's bringing something from our past, like a different life or something like that. There's some people that can remember past lives. Okay. We have psychics. We have all this. The glitches.
There
This is a
are
fun talk.
yeah. So let's play this, and I don't fully agree with this, and I'll share why. If creation and its laws were not perfectly logical, if there was one error in the core code of creation,
But I'm not saying that there's an error. I'm saying we're perceiving a glitch.
that's what I'm getting to. If there was one error in it that created some sort of glitch, a tear, so something was abnormal, something seemed like a miracle, okay?
Right. Yeah.
The system would collapse on itself over time. The robustness, okay, of the system and its redundancies, and it would be so recursive that the universe would collapse.
Right.
If it didn't have perfect equalizing rules and laws.
There has to be like stability. Like
So-
I'm talking like
Yeah, it has to be perfect stability. So what you're perceiving as a glitch is actually you stretching the nth degree of that law to these outside parameters that we haven't really understood. It's like when I put a piece of computer code out there, you're not really sure what's going to happen with it until the public starts to interact with it.
Right.
And so you get these really cool nuances. Maybe I get to talk to things of another dimension. Maybe I do get to see a Bigfoot. Maybe some sort of miracle happens to me with health healing. These things aren't miracles. They all exist within the totality of these laws. We perceive them as a glitch, but in reality, they are all possibilities within this code.
It would be like a blind mole, those little moles, and they dig and they can barely
They're
see.
good
but
at
then
kicking
they,
the dirt back.
but then they pop out and stick their little head and they look out, and now they're in a whole different dimension.
Mhm.
Nothing changed.
No, it's always been there.
Yeah, that's what you're saying, right?
It's now our perceptions are code. We're
Mhm.
seeing the world different, like the Matrix. Neo sees and all the numbers and
Mhm,
letters.
mhm.
Same thing. Now you have a different perspective. It could be more clear. He sees it as the source code, but if you see the source laws of creation, you'll find the simplicity in the world. You'll equalize all these different things that come into place. You'll reduce that waste. And to other people that don't understand how the world functions or the universe or creation, they view them as glitches. They view them as miracles. But what you will realize is it's just a natural thing that can occur. And now that you see it, you cannot unsee it. And that much more becomes possible.
Yeah, and I want people to understand in this Bohn's law, I want us to get into these bottlenecks because this is going to be a fun conversation for the rest of this, is cycles of optimization and decay. And what's going to play in nature and society. And evolution might represent an iterative process of optimization. While species adapt and improve, extinction, ecological bottlenecks arise as unintended consequences. Now, that is not a bottleneck or a glitch. That's part of the law of nature.
It's a refinement process.
Yes, yeah.
It's a refinement. So
You've evolved past the need.
yeah, Darwin came up with this thing like survival of the fittest. It's not who's the strongest. It's a function of adaptation.
Mhm.
So the model of creation and its programming in this chaotic system is an adaptive system. And measuring that is going to be difficult. So the question is, how do you adapt to all these new inputs, to all these new agents, people throwing stones in your pool? How do you adapt to it? And nature wants to balance and equalize it, but you as this independent actor, you have to figure out how you align back with nature. How do you deal with this system? How do you deal with these permutations of life? They're not damaging bottlenecks, but they create these little pockets for you to learn from. And those have to happen so that the system can recognize there was an error and then correct that error.
And it's also like what causes the pool, your first example, what causes the pool to go back to equilibrium, like perfect time? Just time, right?
Just time.
So the minute you remove humans from Earth, you're still going to have third density.
Yeah.
It just may take another billion years for us to come back.
Yeah.
Like maybe we blow ourselves all up.
Likely.
It's going to go back to a smooth pool.
It'll equalize itself.
Yeah, and then the third density is not going away.
No. And we still have the same,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to, right where we left off, we have to continue from.
Yeah.
Because evolution can't jump leaps and bounds. The system doesn't work that way. When you meet a guru, guess what? They're not jumping leaps and bounds. They have just been around longer. If they're a true enlightened,
They've studied longer.
They've studied longer. They've put in more work.
practiced.
They've dealt with more of the permutations.
Mhm.
They've dealt with more of the waste,
Right.
system corrections. We have to do the same thing. We all are afforded the same opportunities, but the programming is there for us to make the errors and then learn to correct them. If we didn't do that, we couldn't get infinite variation and we couldn't increase our wisdom.
But because you always hear this, it's like, oh my God, we're going to have these long-term crises. Like we're creating AI and all these nukes, and next thing you know, we're going to have a climate change issue, or we do have climate change issue, or an existential risk from super intelligence that's just going to take us over, and kill all the humans, Terminator. It's like that's so short-term compared to creation is not looking at us and being like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this.
No,
It'll just reset.
it's going to reset itself.
It's not. It's looking at things over billions and billions.
So
of
the
years.
question is, how long do you want you and your system, your ego, your personality to
Mhm.
exist?
Yes.
How long do you want to live in an enjoyable world, or you just want to just completely eradicate it? The choice is up to us and our own self-responsibility. You're given that
Mhm.
within this complex system, which we live in.
And I want people to say, because people say, well, why would God or why would creation include waste? Well, in a simulated system, inefficiencies are not failures; they're deliberate design choices.
Yeah.
Waste fosters variability, it fosters novelty, it fosters growth. And without unpredictability, the system and by extension, human experience would stagnate.
Yeah, it's a course correction mechanism.
Yeah, we have to have
If we didn't have it, we'd become so bored, so off base, we would just disappear much quicker.
Well, one of the most beautiful things that we see and that we as humans have the ability is to be creative. And that emerges from friction caused by inefficiencies.
Okay, if you need to adapt and find a solution, we have to come up with something creative,
Yes.
something new, something novel. We have to find a way to equalize that system.
And struggles and imperfections seem to be a way where we find meaning. It like makes meaning in our lives.
But all the great stories, Jason.
Yeah, all of them.
Every great movie.
Every movie. Yeah.
Yeah. See, there we go. It's the struggles required. We have to do it as human beings. Do not hate your struggle. Look at it as a beautiful gift of a learning experience.
Well, you can walk out in nature and see that's the law in perfection. Like watching the struggle of the animals, watching the struggle of the root system in the tree.
It's important.
Trying to work around the big rock to find its stability.
The system needs stress and strain.
Yes.
It's required. And then it'll always work. But the overall macro of the micro stresses and strains finds a dynamic equilibrium.
But don't you think there's growth through struggle and that adversity fosters resilience and innovation?
Absolutely it does. Because if we didn't have it, there's nothing to learn from. If there was no clawback, if there was no tension, then how do you know how to relax?
Yes.
How do you know how to progress if you don't have the opposite? So again, you need to have those opposites.
And bottlenecks prevent stasis. So you have this dynamic equilibrium because you don't want to have it where it's just, you can't have an active system with no ripples.
No, you can't.
The ripples create the energy.
And the word equilibrium can't exist without disequilibrium.
Yes.
Right? They have to have their counter. And a lot of these small micro counters have a big macro equilibrium that they're set out by. But again, we're on a closed system. We're in this programmatic learning of consciousness and also evolution of our DNA along with all the other flora and fauna. So it's our goal, even looking at Bohm's law, identify the things early, act upon it, learn, be wise, and try to equalize all these elements.
Self-awareness, spiritual evolution.
And that's huge. And just remember, as you learn those things, you become a conduit for equalization of all these other unstable things around you.
Well, you can optimize the system too through your actions.
Simple.
We always go to the negative side, like shitting in the river, but there's a positive side too. You could teach other humans not to shit in the river.
Perfect.
And then if they don't, guess what you've done? You've
Guys,
optimized the system.
Look what we learned. No upriver shitting.
Exactly.
And you could say, for instance, even a simple context, say you're screaming at me because you're mad.
Yeah.
If I don't respond,
it doesn't.
I've equalized the system.
Yes.
I've netted it out. I'm listening instead of shouting, right? Equalization. That's
where I think a lot of people don't understand. And I don't want to get too into this. Like Jesus' life was so like everybody looks at him, oh, the martyr, all that. But there was Roman Jews. There was so much violence. He was kind of this equilibrium on that, like in the sense of he just taught love and peace. And it's like, what the fuck is this? It's like 180 degrees out, and a lot of times that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. So guys, look for your course corrections. If you want to fix the world, fix yourself first.
100%.
Be responsible because you're a part of the system.
And listen to German heavy metal.
Yeah. On what was
on Spotify. We have a heavy metal top 100.
Do they really?
Yeah, occasionally I listen to it. I don't listen to a lot of heavy metal. I used to, but not as much
I listen to a ton of classical now.
Yeah, it's the same. Classical music's the same as heavy metal. It's like the same. And EDM, they're all super fast.
They're all super fast.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Spotify Shuffle sucks?
Yeah,
Dude,
I'm not. Something's up. Something's up with the algorithms. Like YouTube's always sucked. Like I watch the other day, I watched a terrarium, making a terrarium,
Oh, those are cool. I'm glad you
the
got lost in
glass,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
and then there's these little like bugs you can put in there, and
Yeah.
all that's kind of cool. These little white bugs, and it changed my whole algorithm to 50 videos on terrariums.
Yeah, like
It's so
relax.
basic and simple.
You're
I
overdoing
watched
it.
one.
No, I know.
It should be more complex than that. It should be like, oh, you like this guy? Well, we'll always show you this podcaster.
It should build the weights over time.
Yeah,
It doesn't have a
yes,
good
yes.
time sensitivity
Yeah,
for how
yeah,
like
yeah.
maybe you were hot on something for a second.
Yeah.
Dude, I looked up one thing on how to build Western cattle fencers.
Yeah, and then next thing you know,
I'm getting
for 50
inundated by
years, you're
everything.
gonna get like
Oh my gosh.
for months, you're gonna get stuff.
It's completely tainted the algorithm.
Yeah, yeah. It's too basic. YouTube, you're number 1 or number 2 in the world. Fix your shit.
Number 1 in viewership.
And Spotify,
last
what's
in
up?
algorithms.
What's up? Yeah. You guys are settling on now. They're wanting to introduce video, and we're gonna have another YouTube.
Guys, don't introduce video if you can't figure out your shuffle.
Yeah, shuffle, smart shuffle.
Shuffle this.
Dumb shuffle.
Yeah, shuffle this.
It's called smart shuffle, bro. I was like, this isn't smart shuffle.
No, I had mine. Mine went from what I would say is like 1910 classical symphonies, and then it starts dropping like pop music. I'm like, that is a horrible shuffle.
So my conspiracy theory, there's just conspiracy theory, so don't, is Spotify smart shuffle is giving you songs as advertisements. Like, has somebody paid to have that horrific song,
dude, that's nuts,
come under the smart shuffle? Because there are horrible songs, a lot of them.
They're horrible.
And it has nothing to relate to what I'm interested in.
No.
Or maybe kind of.
Just tasteless artists.
Yeah, it's like, and I've never heard of some of them. So it's
No.
like, why are you giving me this?
I wonder if it is an ad program.
That's what I'm wondering, if it's some type of weird, like with the record places.
That's really
Because everything's all about making money nowadays, unfortunately.
It's really
Shareholder value.
ARR. Subscriptions. What's the ROI?
If I hear that,
dude.
you have to hear this, unfortunately.
All the time.
CEO of a tech company.
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants to judge everything. It's like, how about number 1? Did you help humanity today?
That's not even a metric for them.
How is your company going to help humanity? Have you ever had any investor or anyone ask that question?
No.
Ever? Thousands of calls. You've had thousands of calls.
Not one person that says, like, what's your humanitarian impact? None. Zero. Most of the people that control world's finance, zero. Goose egg.
They care about finance.
They care about finance.
Money.
Yeah, it's total shame.
Ridiculous.
That's really conspiratorial about the
I don't know.
thing.
You know, that could just be like, I'm just bro science. Jason science is worse than bro science.
It's actually it's multiple steps below.
Yeah,
Yep.
You're talking at like rock thought process.
It is the bottleneck.
It's the second dimension, right? I'm still like between second and third density.
You're just getting
rock.
I've gone from rock to fleshy human body.
That's when you know it, especially as a dude, like as a guy, it's like, oh, there's a nice ass. It's like, can I spiritually evolve where I could see the person and not just stare at her ass?
Yeah, move your eyes up.
Can we get that evolved?
I don't know. It's very tribal, isn't it?
It's so fucking stupid. And it's an evolution thing. It's like the hips weight ratio to birth. That's what you're getting excited about. Evolution.
You know, it's so funny.
That's all it is.
I'll share this and then we can close. Always be in public. Tons of beautiful women are all over the world. Okay.
Oh.
If they walk by in a restaurant and an older guy, like much older, sitting with his wife, do you know how many times I watch their eyes?
Yeah.
I track these guys. I'm always watching your eyeballs. So if anyone's ever around me, watch out because I'm watching your eyes.
Yeah.
I know everything that's going on in your head.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to kind of be. I'll try to watch it like where I'm not doing it. You know, try not to do it. I mean, there's a circumstance for stuff, you know, and I like looking at women, I guess. So like that's a thing or whatever. But
symmetry, balance.
But still, it's like when is it inappropriate? You know what I mean? And when is it appropriate? It's probably not really appropriate ever.
It's going to be a long time when we start to look at people for their consciousness.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is a living being. This is a loving being.
Let's focus on the physical vessel.
Yeah. It's so weird. And what we've chosen, breast and ass.
I don't get it.
It's so weird. Think about that.
Well, how come the people aren't attracted to cows? Cows got like 30 breasts. 2 of them. Nice.
Yeah.
The cow thing, you the whole
It's
other
gotta
dude.
be, I think Freud was right on the sexual stuff. Everything turns into, if you're like low third density, everything is sexual.
Yeah.
It's like Freudian, that's what he said, you know. Jung said, start trying to introduce a conscious there.
They're like, whoa, buddy. I'm still trying to figure out my mating call, and you're trying to tell me I got to think about consciousness.
I still want to fuck my mom, you know?
Yeah. You're twisted as fuck. Your mom gave you some trauma? That's what you're attracted to.
Which we're going to be doing an episode soon on Carl Jung's The Devouring Mother.
We should do that. We
I have
should.
a whole thing on it. It's good.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, for you guys that continue to hang on here by a thread, listening to these two apes behind a mic, I appreciate all your attention. And with that, we will see you guys soon.